Hey y'all, I'm Kim, host of Book Marketing Mania, and I'm so thrilled you're tuning in to learn how to build your audience and reach new readers as a podcast host and guest. If you want to connect with your target readers authentically, you have to show up as your true self online. And when Kim Mosiman reached out to me through the PodMatch service, I just knew I wanted to have her as a guest to serve you. Kim is the author of Reflections of Joy, Learning to Love the Woman You See While Becoming the One You're Meant to Be. And she's sharing tips today for those of you who might share my same concern about having to look a certain way before you use video. And we're also talking about what Kim wishes she had known about book marketing before she started her publishing journey and what's working best for her to market her book, including guesting on podcasts through the PodMatch service. You're in for a treat today with Kim, so let's get to it. Hey, Kim, welcome to Book Marketing Mania. I'm so thrilled you're here today to serve my listeners.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
This is so fun. So as y'all heard in the introduction, Kim and I connected on PodMatch, which I love that service just for this purpose because I would not have probably connected with Kim any other way. So I think it's so fun to get to meet, authors that have a message that really resonates with my heart, especially as well as my listeners' heart. So Kim, let's talk about your beautiful book, Reflections of Joy, and tell us who you wrote it for.
Well, to be honest, I wrote it for me, for the woman that I was a couple of years ago. And my background is in the fitness arena. I owned a gym for a long time, and people would come in, maybe not feeling so good about themselves, join a challenge. We had 9-week challenges. So I would take a picture and count on me to help lead them to what they thought was an end goal or, that place where they felt good. And then we'd take another picture and there was a winner. And I loved doing that. It was very fulfilling. I got people let me into their stories. We learned what worked for them. And I also learned so much about overall wellness, not just fitness, but like one size doesn't fit all, right? So there are a million books that come out every year about dieting or about the right plan for everyone, and everyone should do this. And the simple fact is that what works for you might not work for me, and we have to play with those things. So anyway, after closing the gym, I kind of became my client. I kind of spiraled, and I didn't go to the gym every day. Sometimes I didn't eat the way I had been eating for all those years. I just kind of felt like this loss of purpose. And through the course of a couple of years, in God's good grace and faithful journaling practice, and what I thought was a sign, when my publisher launched, it's a new hybrid publisher, and they launched all those things like gathered together, and lo and behold, I wrote a book. And I wrote a book for that woman who wasn't feeling good about herself, and how to get back to feeling great, like I suppose I do today.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. I mean, I'm just like soaking it up going, yes, I am your target reader for sure, Kim. And I have Kim's beautiful book and I love it so much. And it was published by Hope Books, which is so fun to see Hope writers getting into the publishing field. And I have to tell y'all, you just have to get your hands on Kim's book because I'm so impressed with the actual publishing of the book, not to mention the incredible message Kim has on the inside. So gosh, you're just, speaking my love language. For our listeners, and I'm sure many people are raising their hands going, yep, me too, Kim. Can you share some wisdom with our listeners and me, of course, that feels that they have to look a certain way to show up online to serve our target readers?
That's hard. And sometimes I wish that I would have decided to write a book back before the internet.
Yeah.
Because I could have written my message, and I could have met with people in bookstores, and I could have connected with them. But now there's so much pressure for us to be the person that we feel is going to connect with our target reader. And I don't know, I've been pushing back during this whole launch. Prior to writing and prior to releasing, I thought, well, you have to do a certain thing, or you have to be deep and thoughtful and whatever. And the true thing is, people want to know you. And so now that I have good history and I have my Amazon author page, I can watch and I can correlate the days. So, like, I spike on Amazon
Uh-huh.
on the days that I show my face. And sometimes that's a face with no makeup. And sometimes it's a face like in my old ratted flannel bathrobe sitting on the
Yeah.
deck just talking to people. And so I really believe that our readers want to know us. They don't want to know an image of someone special and famous and whatever. They just want to know us. And if you write from your heart and you write a book that you were called to write, but then you appear as someone different online, you're not going to connect. You're
Hmm.
not going to bring in the people who truly need your message. So, I've changed through this and I've been given advice. Like we're all out there trying to learn the best way to market our book, and everyone has a different opinion, but I'm just Kim. I've come to the realization that I'm just Kim, and I'm Kim everywhere I post and everywhere I write and everything I do. So, like me, don't like me, that's great. But my book is the same. When you read my book, you're going to hear this voice in your head telling you the same thing I'm telling you right now. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that resonates with me so much because I do think, there's this whole debate about, are we on social or are we not on social? Are we online or offline? And I think you have to do a little bit of both, right? And some
Hmm.
variances, but you don't have to chase that whole hustle mindset and the algorithm. Like you're just saying, just show up and be there for your readers. It doesn't have to be every day, it doesn't have to be 20 times a day, but it doesn't have to have all your makeup on. That's like such a good thing for me to hear. I think about the authors that I've connected with so much have been, it's because they are just so real, right? And
Yep.
they're not just writing about the struggle they went through and telling you what to do and then showing up as a different person like what you're talking about. No, they are really going through this still, maybe. And yeah, they're just real people. I love that so much. So this is your first time to write a book, right? Or
Yep.
publish a book?
Yep.
What is something you wish that you would have known before you started your publishing journey? And I'm sure it's hard to limit it to one. So
Yeah.
feel free to share as many as you want.
Pick one. Let's see. The waiting is maddening. The book comes out and you're so excited, and everybody cheers you on, right? Like leading up to launch, and they're so excited, but then there's like the silence.
Hmm.
And the silence when you hope everyone is reading is maddening. And you feel like you can't come online and say, "Hey, I'm here. Tell me what you
Hmm.
think. Tell me what you think." The marketing part is really difficult. And I thought writing a book was a challenge. I
Hmm.
hadn't done it before. It wasn't, what I was trained to do. But marketing is hard because you don't have that immediate feedback.
Hmm.
And you don't have an editor out there saying, "Oh, this is great. This is gonna, resonate." So be prepared and be creative. And the other thing, I didn't have any idea. I always thought I was bothering people because in my little non-marketing mind, I assumed that if I posted a couple times, or if maybe I'm having a great week and I'm inspired and I decide to post every single day, not everyone who follows me is seeing that. And I was always worried that I was burning people out and they were going to get sick of me and, cancel me. And it doesn't happen. So what I wish I would have known, I wish I would have known the timelines better. I wish I would have started learning about marketing a little bit before I released, because I felt like somebody turned on a fire hydrant and I was trying to learn all the things all at one time. And there are so many ways to reach our reader. So many different ways. There are people in my cohort. One young woman, she's traveling all around to little bookstores and selling
Hmm.
herself in like old school. And then there are other people doing book studies and other people who have a beautiful online following, big. Other people who know the right people and they've exploded. And so, yeah, I had moments of frustration and moments where I doubted myself. And I don't think that I needed to be like that. I
Hmm.
think patience and, I wrote Christian nonfiction and
Hmm.
I wrote a lot about trusting the Lord. I wish I would have done the same thing when I wrote my book. I wish I would have
Yeah.
trusted, you wanted me to write it, you're going to put it in the right hands, and not worried as much as I did right in the beginning.
Yeah. That's such a good message for me, again, for me to hear, because as I think about writing my first book, and I'm a big believer that marketing, especially as being book marketing mania, that marketing starts really right when God lays that message on your heart. Because I believe that marketing is just helping people, right? You're just getting out there and sharing that you have a message that could help them and you want to help them, right? And that's what God's called us to. But I think, it starts way earlier than we ever think, the marketing. I'm sure, like what you're talking about, Kim. And I mean, I do believe, like you're saying, you just got to get online or go wherever in person or, however you communicate with your target readers and just start sharing, with them. So you're not so bombarded at the launch period. And I'm sure now that your book is out in the world, have you also noticed the marketing continues, right? It's not just a book launch, an ongoing thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I launched in May. And as we're talking right now, it's August. And I feel like I'm just really starting to ramp up, especially because in the podcast world, where we're exposing ourselves to people that might not otherwise know about our message. A lot of people go in cycles, and summer's kind of a break time. And so I feel like I'm really talking about my book so much more now than I did at the initial launch.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going. It's good. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point to make because I have also seen that just every year I've been in the online business world is summer slows down. It's like
mhm.
whether you have kids or not. I used to think it was only because of the school year and you had a summer break, but now I just feel like my kids are adults and I still see that summer slump. We all just have that mentality of slowing down. And that's the beauty of podcast guesting. I love that. You could do it anytime,
Yep.
right? And if you have your own podcast, you can talk about it anytime. But yeah, you can reach new people anytime and share your message. So I love that so much. So let me ask you real quick, and you've covered this a little bit, but what is working well for you right now to market your book? Is it podcast guesting? Is there other things that you're doing?
Podcast guesting, yes. I've been hitting little bookstores in my
Uh-huh.
area and just trying to get the book into some people's hands. And I've been working a lot on my social media presence and really trying to educate people in the importance of reviews. As an avid book reader, a lot of times when I loved a book, I would just buy a second book and gift it to someone, thinking I'm helping
Yeah.
the author in this way. But I didn't ever consider the importance of writing a review and how that triggers Amazon or the other booksellers to really say, hey, look, this person deserves to be like sliding up and being seen by people. And
Hmm.
so that's right now, social media is really working. And especially like I just mentioned before, now that I'm putting my face on and I'm trying to talk to people and just trying to be me, people want to see your face. They don't want to see a pretty picture of the clouds. They
Yeah.
they want to
Yeah.
see your face. And so that's been where my focus is at podcasts and social media right now.
Yeah. I was just thinking as you were talking through that, with all this huge explosion of AI stuff going on, I think that's
Mhm.
going to be even more important that we do not that we have to get into the social media rat race, but just that we do show up sometimes online to show our face that we are a real person. Like
Yep.
AI didn't write this book. Kim Mosiman wrote this book, a real person put together this message for you. So I think that's so important. Well, we talked about podcast guesting. So I want to ask, since we did connect on Podmatch, have you been connecting with other hosts there and what's your experience been like?
I have connected with several. It's almost overwhelming how the opportunities come up. And so many different areas too. I mean, my book is specifically about women in their second act, discovering how to love themselves again. But I've talked to people about writing, and I've talked to people about marketing, and I've talked to people about nutrition and about parenting and making things easier. And there's just this big door that's opened up and exposed me to opportunities everywhere. And I'm a huge fan. Before I joined Podmatch, my goal was to send out 5 to 10 emails every week to different people, but they're the people that I'm listening to or that, happen to show up in my feed. And there are thousands, probably millions of podcasts out there that we don't know about until someone either drops them in your lap or else you join. Podcast has
Yeah.
been great. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's what I love about Podmatch probably the most is connecting with people you would not connect with any other way because I've gotten so many podcasts come across my, list. And I'm like, wow, I had no idea. Like, this is a podcast I need to be listening to. And I think that's nice because we kind of come up with our list of podcasts. Maybe we listen to them, or if you've seen a friend guest on them, and you kind of have this handful of podcasts that you know about, but then there's this whole other world that we didn't know existed. And I have an episode, I'll have to look it up, maybe 34, I can't remember, but I talked about putting together your podcast pitching strategy. And what you just talked about, Kim, I'm just like, oh, hallelujah, because I think there's so many facets to us. You're an author, you're a writer, you're a speaker, about nutrition, you have this business background, but your book is Christian nonfiction, but it's not just for Christians, right? And even if it was, Christians listen to other podcasts and just Christianity podcasts, right? Like you're here on book marketing. And it's so amazing how you can get out there to share your message, but yet in doing that, you're able to say, I'm the author of XYZ book. But you just never know your target listeners probably tuning into, or your message may resonate with somebody that you never expected it to. So, I love that so much. Oh, Kim, well, this has been so, so good. I'm so thrilled that you took the time to come on and serve my listeners and that we got connected. Is there any parting words you want to share, or is there anywhere that you would prefer listeners to connect with you online?
I tried to make it easy. My website is kimmosiman.com. I'm Kim Mosiman on Facebook and on Instagram. Those are the places I hang out most often. I haven't been brave enough to venture into some of the other venues, maybe someday, but for now, if you read my book, drop me a line. I think every person who writes wants to know what people think. So send me a message or leave a review, either one. Or
both. Thank you for that. And I'll be sure to put Kim's links in the show notes. But I did want to follow back around to you talking about book reviews, because I read books like crazy, and I don't always take that next step to leave a review. We just have got to stop for a second, and it doesn't have to be a big, long review, right? It's just a couple of sentences on Amazon to let the author know, let other readers that are looking into a new books, when they see just a couple of words of endorsement, it means so much to both the reader and the author. So yes, definitely leave a review. Well, thank you, Kim. I so appreciate it. I hope you have an awesome day.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, goodness, y'all. I feel like this episode was so what my heart needed to hear. And if you're curious about the PodMatch service that matches podcast guests with podcast hosts, be sure to listen to my overview of it on episode 131. And if you want some help with how to show up authentically online, especially on Instagram, check out episode 4 with my sweet friend Ruthie Gray. And I'll put a link to those in the show notes. And also, if you're thinking, nope, I'm ready to say bye-bye to social media, well, be sure to check out episode 75, where Sandy Cooper and I talk about marketing off social. And again, I'll put that link in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in today. And as always, I'll be there for you to help you build your audience and reach new readers one podcast at a time. See you then.